My name is Mervyn Merrilees, and I've been a member of the anatomy department as a lecturer and associate professor now for some 30 years. I teach medical students, and in addition to that, of course, I do research. And I've been involved in research on blood vessels for many, many years. But it's in the last decade, thanks to Bronwyn Gray of the New Zealand LAM Trust, that I became involved in looking at this disease called lymphangioliomyomatosis, which of course is LAM. It's a disease about which I knew essentially nothing until Bronwyn Gray called a meeting in the medical school of interested staff members to see if she could find somebody who might take an interest in understanding LAM. And that meeting was back in 2000. And since then, an enormous amount has happened in terms of understanding LAM. In 2001, I made my first trip to a LAM conference in Cincinnati in the United States. And again, thanks to the New Zealand LAM Trust, who supported that visit. And there I was introduced for the first time to a relatively small group of dedicated people who had an interest in trying to solve LAM. As you know, it's quite a devastating disease in that it takes some time for the disease to develop, and progressively it gets worse as lung function starts to decrease. And I was just so impressed with the dedication of this select group of people who were quite determined that they would find a way forward. And it was then that I started to gain a real appreciation of how understanding rare diseases can make a huge impact on understanding some of the other major diseases. And we tend to forget that. A large amount of money goes towards supporting investigations into heart disease, into cancer, arthritis, a range of conditions that many, many people have. And the rare diseases tend to be overlooked. But it's only when you begin to investigate the mechanisms by which cells behave and how they work in these rare diseases, then you gain insights into what's happening in some of the other major diseases. It's essentially working on the same topic. We're working with the same molecules. We're working with the same ideas. And when that comes together, then you make advances in both fields. One of the features of the conferences in Cincinnati was that there was a scientific section where scientists were presenting their papers, but there was also a section in the conference for women with LAM. And they came along to hear about clinical progress and treatments and to compare their stories with other women. But in fact, what they did was, of course, they shared the stories with the scientists, and then the scientists started to understand the disease, I think, in a much, much better way than they would have had they not been there. I guess it's a feature of the age of the internet. If you do have a problem, you can gain huge amounts of material from the internet. And that, in fact, makes LAM women extremely well informed. Many of them were intensely interested in attending the scientific sessions, listening to the papers that were being presented. And what I noticed while I was sitting there with them was listening to the opening and closing of the oxygen bottles as they were struggling to breathe, listening to the presentations. And I have to say that made an impression.